Everyone, I'm Jeankarla, or JK. I am one of the Newport planners. I have Sarah, now Lema, here, newlywed and bride and planner for Newport, as well as Dana Curran, who was from Henry and Mac, who was also her photographer at her wedding. And we're very excited to be here all together and chat through Sarah's experience being a bride this time around, and also while being a planner, and Dana's experience of being at Sarah's wedding. So we're really excited to dive in today.
So excited.
Sarah, how are you feeling now that we are a month, almost a month to the day?
More than a month
and a week.
5 weeks out. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I know. It feels like it like never happened, weirdly. Like it was like so much of it, and then now it's like over, and that's totally fine. But no, it's great. I'm still getting used to my new last name. Like seeing my last name written differently on everything is definitely a change. But yeah, it's amazing. It's so good. I feel like we went into the wedding and it was summer, and now we like came home from our honeymoon and it's been fall, and it's just crazy.
Has there been a transition, or does it feel any different now that you and Andy are married?
No, it doesn't feel any different. I feel like most anybody maybe for some people it does, but we've been together for so long. So I feel like nothing, it feels more permanent, and you got a new piece of hardware. But other than that, like our relationship feels, day-to-day life feels wildly similar.
All right, so as we dive in, Sarah, I think what everyone kind of wants to know, the biggest question is, what was it like being a wedding planner, planning your own wedding? So what were the first few things you did after you and Andy got engaged?
Yeah, so I think for us, we got engaged in 2020, and so at that time as a professional, we were dealing with a ton of, and Dana, you can obviously speak to this too, but we were still dealing with a ton of reschedules, and our 2021 calendars were quickly filling up with new business and all of the business that had transitioned. So for us, it was kind of a no-brainer that we were going to, wait until 2022 for our wedding. So that gave us a good amount of time to start making some decisions and kind of, drawing things out a little bit. Took some pressure off too, to not just dive right into planning. We were kind of excited to have a little bit of a longer engagement and just enjoy, each phase of everything. But in terms of what we really wanted to lock down was the date and the location. We were pretty decisive about where we were going to get married. And really wanted to lock the date in, because I knew how crazy even 2022 was going to be in terms of schedule for work. So I wanted to kind of plant my flag and have my date and be able to build my calendar out around that, so that I could preserve a little bit of personal time in the midst of obviously still a really busy season professionally as well.
Beautiful. So who were some of the first vendors that you booked?
Dana. For sure.
And why Dana? Of course, we worked with her professionally, but tell us a little bit more what was behind that decision, and Dana kind of hop in and tell us about Henry and Mac as well.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your business, and give a little insight onto, how you guys do things, and then I can kind of fill in why that was so attractive to us as a couple.
Sure. So we're, a wedding studio, based in the kind of Boston, New England area, but do some travel as well. And I live in the area where you got married. So I live in South Dartmouth, which is kind of close-ish on the different peninsula to the Jamestown area. So I also have a particular fondness and love for all the magic that is around here. And we are, we've been kind of around for a while now, which is wild. I was trying to figure it out when we were doing this. I'm like, okay, carry the one. Oh, we've been doing this for 12 years.
Wow.
Which feels wild. But, in the past 3 years, we've had a bit more recognition. We've kind of expanded our team. We have the brilliant Megan with us now.
Love Megan.
And we have
Megan.
we've been, you know, on the bride's best magazine, you know, best list for the past 3 years. But, you know, for us, it's really more, the most important part for us is that we're, you know, on the walls and in the histories of like over 300 families now. And so really for us, that's kind of the thing and the part of it. And what always kind of keeps me coming back is really wanting to I don't know, kind of have that experience with people, be a part of that for people's lives, and really be able to kind of put this incredibly emotional, incredibly beautiful coming together of all of your favorite people in the same place at the same time, and like put it in a little box for you to have forever. And so that's kind of, I guess, where we come from, to, in a long rounded way, answer your question.
No, it's so good. And I remember like,
Excuse me.
no, it's okay. Like your philosophy, obviously we are so fortunate on so many projects to get to work with you professionally, and so many of our couples get to benefit from, you know, the passion that you have for what you do. But I remember, and you'll maybe remember this too, like when we talked and you were kind of giving like, not your pitch, but like you were talking about your approach and everything, and you were speaking about it, like for me, I started crying because I was so grateful that like I was going to get to be on the other end of that. And I'm always so excited for our couples when they get to partner with you to have that experience. But it really was kind of like one of the first conversations I remember having where I was like, oh, wait, like I'm planning this for myself. Like I'm going to be getting my picture taken, not like, you know, I'm not helping other people get connected. And it was you do such an amazing job of like bringing you back to those grounded moments of like the why are we here, like you just spoke about, and like that these are heirlooms and these are memories that are for generations and all of that stuff. And that just like really resonated with me, because for me, that is what it's all about, you know, and yeah, so I just remember that being like a profound conversation in my planning process and feeling, you know, really connected to the way that you do things.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's wild how I think now, especially now more than ever, because we have so many like images in our lives, we're inundated with like every time we go out, we all have phones and there's a zillion people taking pictures, and which is wonderful. But I think what's kind of crazy is thinking back on like how we make memories. And sometimes like the memories that we're making are, you realize like, oh wait, that's a photo. Like I remember that photo. It's not necessarily a memory. And so for us to kind of be in charge of how you remember your wedding, the kind of mile markers from the day that you'll look back on, and hopefully that will like spark your memory so you have your own memory of that moment. But it really is like you're kind of charged with putting together this, you know, collection of images that are the way that people are going to remember their day. And so I think it's a really big honor, obviously, and it's a really big challenge. But especially, and we'll probably get into this later, but especially when, you know, a person that you're so close with professionally and a fellow creative, you know, asks you to do that. It was also a career highlight for me to work with you, and to be asked to work with you out of all the people that you work with all the time. So
Oh, that's so sweet, Dana. That kind of leads me into my next question. Did you approach Sarah's wedding the same or any differently than you have with other past clients before?
I think what we had kind of talked about in that same first conversation was, listen, I want to make sure that even though we know each other in this way, that I want you to get the full experience, and I want you to feel like you are the couple and not feel like like we're kind of, excuse me, like we're cutting corners or we're not going over things because like I just know that you know that, because it is such a different emotional experience planning someone else's wedding than it is planning your own. And I think it's really important for people, even if they work with friends or if they work with people that they already know, to go through the whole thing, you know, get to have the tasting, even if you've had 1,000 tastings from the catered affair before, get to have your own tasting. You know, it's kind of that same idea. It does feel different, and you shouldn't, I think sometimes we like can almost like skimp on stuff like that because you're supposed to already know about it.
Mhm.
And it was really important for us to kind of go through that. And I think like the biggest thing that we talked about from the beginning was, you know, when we're working with fellow creatives, people that are in any kind of planning, people that are in, you know, any kind of design, it is harder than it seems to be able to just like let go. It's like, it sounds good on paper, but it's really difficult to do. And I struggle with that in my own wedding. And so that's how I know about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's something that we kind of kept touching in on is, you know, making sure that you're building a team that you really truly do trust. And you're giving yourself kind of a false deadline, like a week before the wedding, so that you can have that feeling of pencils down. By the time the wedding is coming, you're like on the ride to relax, like to letting go. And it's not, you know, the day. It's like when you go on vacation and you need like the first kind of 3 days of vacation, you're just coming down. And then you're there for 2 days and then you're leaving. Like, and so it's kind of that idea of wanting to kind of have your wedding fall in that middle 2 days feeling and not fall in like the coming down period. It's so much easier said than done. But I think if you know, build people around you that you feel like you can like pass the baton to, then it really makes it easier for you to enjoy it, because that is the whole point.
Yes, definitely. I guess, Sarah, tell us a little bit more about kind of how you as a planner and a bride built your vendor team and how you felt throughout the process, especially while planning all of our other clients' weddings within the same year.
Yes. I mean, I think what Dana said is perfectly describes my whole approach. Like, feel so fortunate to have so many amazing relationships with the best people in our industry. And so for me, not only was it like, I want to work with all the best people, it was like, these are people that I truly consider friends and that I knew not only professionally would crush their job and like do an amazing job, but like personally also, I felt so like supported by every person in the room, which I think is something unique that I got to experience, because of course, like, no matter if you know your vendors or, you know, you're just meeting them just for your wedding planning, you know, process, they're of course there to support you. And we're always there to like circle our clients and support. But for me, it was like this extra layer of the servers and all the people there, like people that I see, you know, weekend in and weekend out. So it just was like this real like blanket of just like a different layer of emotional support than I'm used to having, you know, on a wedding day. So that was like really important to me. And then of course, the other part of that is, you know, having people that I know and trust and work with that would allow me to sort of not be a micromanager on the day of and have the luxury to just be a bride and like live in those emotional moments rather than living in like logistical moments or worrying about all of that. And like, I could not have felt more relaxed on that front. Like, I really, really thought it was going to be very difficult for me to not worry about details or how things were going to look or anything like that. But I didn't think about that at all. Like, I really felt so just in the moment, and I trusted everyone that was there to like make the, you know, if something went wrong, I don't know about it. And that's how we always want our clients to feel too. Like, you know, that's what we do and that's our job. But yeah, like, I didn't feel at all worried, are my tables going to look the way that I wanted them to look or anything like that. Like, I knew I had every person that would make sure that everything was perfect for me. So yeah, I mean, that was really important. I mean, I don't know if we want to go through and like list all the people, because obviously I want to give everyone credit that was there too, but like, we could always follow up with that after in some of this information, because I want to make sure to give everyone the proper credit, because just couldn't have imagined a better, you know, scenario to have everyone that was there either.
Of course. So we'll kind of start diving into a couple of questions that people submitted as well. We're going to open up the chat if anyone has some off the cuff questions. I guess this big one that I'm curious to know, I mean, Sarah and I are very close. For those of you who don't know, I've known Sarah for over 10 years now. So I've known Andy for 10 years and we're very similar. And I know she likes to plan ahead, which she did, because before the season started, I think the wedding was completely planned. And then you were slightly stressed, like maybe a month before, but what was the most challenging part of planning your wedding?
It's so hard to answer this question because I did get it a lot too. Like, what was the hardest part about doing this? And the hardest part was really all of the stuff that I don't experience professionally. Like, it was all of the behind the scenes, like, some of the family dynamics and like some of the emotional parts of things. That was the hardest part for me, which I didn't necessarily expect. I'm not like an overly emotional person. So I was really surprised how emotional and like nervous and just like so much energy that I had. So the planning part, like, I hate to say it wasn't that hard, but it wasn't that hard because I knew who I wanted to use really easily. Like, I have a really strong sense of design direction as well. So it was like fairly easy to kind of just put some images together and like form a direction. I really didn't waver or go back and forth or second guess any of those decisions. So I hate to say like nothing was hard. Obviously, there were hard things about the process, but in terms of pinpointing something specific about the planning, I hate to say it, but like there wasn't anything that was like super hard on that front. So I would say it was really just a lot of like the emotions behind everything. I guess the one like part that sort of overlapped was kind of, Dana, what you spoke about, having the experience and not skimping on those experiences. For me, it was really important that, going through things like the tasting and like having conversations with vendors and all of that stuff, that I really wanted to make sure that Andrew was involved in that, because it was all really natural to me because we do it all the time. But I wanted to make sure I wasn't like taking that experience away from him or my parents or his parents to like go experience all of those things. And I tried, maybe, I don't know, maybe he would say I didn't do a great job, but I tried to look at things with a fresh eye and not sort of just be like, we're picking this because like, I know it's good. I've already tasted all this stuff already. Like, like I already know the hors d'oeuvres. So let's just ones. So I did struggle a little bit to just like, not just do it and just be done with it, like kind of wanting to make sure he felt really in the fold of it. Because having a wedding like we did was also important to him. It wasn't like I was the only one who cared about all of that stuff. So that was a little hard for me, but I think I did okay, I think.
Going back to the emotional side of the day, because I was also a guest at this wedding, and in the 10 years that I've known Sarah, I think this is the most I've ever seen her cry. But Dana, how was it seeing this emotional side of Sarah versus you always see her cool, calm, collected on site with our clients? How did that feel for you on the day of?
Yeah, I think I was going to say this earlier, and I'm glad to have like left it for this. I think it's so one of the coolest parts for me about any couple is that I build this relationship with the couple from the start. I talk to them, I get to know them. And then on the day of the wedding, then I get to like see where they come from and see all their people and get to like kind of unfold all of that piece. And for me, it was so special to be able to get to know Sarah as a whole person. We've known each other in this professional way for so long, and that's just like a part of who everyone is, and it's a part of who we are. And it's, for us, we work in such an emotionally driven business. I think it's a little bit more than say, some other professions where we would just meet at a desk or something. But it was wonderful to get to know her partner, to get to meet her parents, to get to see her friends and family, and to kind of like be able to fill out who she is and how she kind of got here. And all those pieces to me is like, it's such an honor to be invited into this intimate space with people. Like, here's all the most important people in my life, and also you get to come and be here, which is such a cool thing. But it was really particularly special to, like I said, to kind of get to know Sarah more as a whole person throughout this process.
That's so sweet.
I know, that was so sweet. Oh,
and to get to meet Andrew was like really awesome.
Yeah. No, Dana definitely
like a wonderful afternoon drinks.
Yes, we did. We did.
Yeah,
we should say that we didn't do engagement photos because again, like that just felt like not us, quite honestly, like it wasn't for us, but like we went with Dana and like sat for 3 hours and like ate delicious food. Like, but it was really nice to like get to, again, that was a part of it for me, was like I was already comfortable with you, I already knew you, and for him, like it was really important that he also got to have that like comfortability with you, taking pictures. Like I always say this to our couples, you know, like this is a person who's going to be taking pictures of you in like really vulnerable moments and like really intimate moments and all of that stuff. So it's very important that you feel a sense of, you know, relaxation and comfortability, particularly if you're a person who's like not into getting their picture taken or anything like that, which I would classify us as. And, you know, obviously you couldn't have made us feel more comfortable than we did. And I didn't even think about that on the day of, but doing stuff like that. And, you know, like you said, you really take the time to get to know your couples and build that relationship. And that was really important for us as well.
Cool. So we're going to start diving into a couple more questions that people had submitted for Sarah. What surprised you the most in planning or on your day of?
I mean, I keep saying it, but like, it surprised me the most how like unwell I was for like the whole weekend. Like I was so nervous, and it's crazy because we've, you know, like been together for so long, and like all of my friends are really long-term relationships that I've had. Like it wasn't like I was around people that would make me feel uncomfortable, but I think it was just a very, very emotionally charged weekend. I was feeling really overwhelmed by the amount of like just love and support that you feel. And I think I have a whole new sensitivity, you know, to our couples and just like the emotions that are happening. I think kind of a big takeaway, right, was, again, this is not necessarily that everyone could relate to, but for me and how it will carry over into my job is oftentimes being on the professional side of the wedding, we're worried that a couple is thinking about, do my tables look perfect? Like all of the details that we've already planned, we're thinking that they're thinking about those things, but they're thinking about all the, you know, stuff that's really close to their heart and the emotion and the magnitude of the day and all of that. And so I think going through that on my own made me realize, like, don't like, they trust us, like we got this, you know, because the trust that I felt in my vendors, I would hope all of our couples have in us as well, to just be taking care of all of that stuff so that they can truly just live in that like magic bubble of having all your favorite people in the same place and your family and all of that stuff. So that was definitely like a surprising element, like how emotional I was, but then also just how to carry that and channel that into what we do every weekend. And just gave me a little bit of a different perspective on what you're feeling on the other end, you know, that you don't know until you go through it, really.
Sure, that's definitely something, like as someone who is a planner and obviously hasn't been a bride yet, to kind of take into consideration, because I managed to get a glimpse of Sarah in those moments and realize, like, okay, she really doesn't care. I mean, she cares what the tent looks like, but she doesn't care what the tent looks like. She just, seeing Sarah on her wedding day was honestly one of like the most heartwarming, beautiful things. And again, I was honored to be a part of it, because I'm not going to cry again because I cried a lot that day, but she was so happy. And I was just like amazed by someone who like truly dotted all their I's and crossed their T's leading up to the wedding, where she was able to mentally just like fully be present. And I guess this kind of goes back to another question that other people had of when you reach that moment. I know I saw it like the week of, but when did you fully reach that moment where you're like, I'm a bride and I'm getting married and this is happening and I can't be wedding planner mode anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I was, first of all, I mean, I was so, again, like just confident in all the people that were there. And I think we rented a house for the weekend. And once we checked into that house the Thursday before the wedding, like I like had my friends there, and like we just started like, you know, having fun. And I took my email off my phone, which was big for me. Like I had to do that to really unplug. And like, I really just lived in the moment, and I kind of just embraced like vacation mode. and then I started to be like, oh, like this is for us. And then as some of our like out of town friends started arriving, and like, I think once everybody was in the room, like some people that we don't get to see all the time, you know, that traveled across the country, you know, a couple of Andrew's friends and, you know, my friends and all of that stuff, and just being like all in that house together, I was like, oh wait, like this is for us, like we're doing this for us, and all these people to celebrate us. And so that was kind of the moment, which I mean, it wasn't too far in advance, because I'm kind of somebody that like I have to busy myself, you know, up until I can actually relax. So I did a little bit of that, like rebuying pajamas for the girls to wear that like I didn't need to rebuy, like just things like that, just to busy myself. But I think that was when I kind of like started to relax. And then I think it turned into, oh, like I'm excited this was for me for like a day. And then once we got to the rehearsal, I was like, oh gosh, I'm a little nervous that this is for me. Like I'm a little scared to be on the other end of this. But yeah, I think it was leading up to that weekend, and checking into the house was probably the moment
that you calm down.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would change on the day of?
No, there's nothing I would change on the day of. Truly, I am part of the reason why we had a long engagement, and part of the reason why we waited as a couple to get married. Like, again, we've been together for a very long time, like 14 years. And we waited to have the wedding that we always wanted to have. Like, it was a lot of really intentional decision-making in our relationship. So I really can't say that there's something I would do differently, because it really was like my dream weekend. Like for me personally, it was what I wanted. So no, like I really wouldn't change anything. And also, like, I'm kind of a believer of like, why would I ever say I want to change anything? It was the most perfect weekend. And like anything that like wasn't perfect that even I don't know about. I mean, I guess maybe I would change that it wasn't a drought and had no grass, but like I can't change that. So
But having no grass made the photos. I have to say, it was honestly perfect.
I remember I texted Dana on Thursday when we checked in, and I was like, just a word of caution, there's not a single blade of grass at my venue. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yep, not one single blade. But that was out of my control, so I can't really worry about the drought. But you know, it went with the color palette.
It totally did.
It did. It did. It really did. Okay, so I'm just going to do some rapid fire questions just to kind of give our viewers a little bit more insight on your day. Okay. One word to describe your dance party.
Epic. I didn't stop dancing. Like, that's a fun fact about me, is like, and Andrew, like, we're always the first people out on the dance floor. Like, I have no inhibitions. Once I get out there with my margarita in hand, like, it's over. So
those are good margaritas.
They were good margaritas. I force-fed Dana one. I was like,
what was your favorite detail of the wedding?
I mean, the detail that probably went over the best was all of the like food items in my tablescapes that people were just going crazy over.
Let's see, a wedding idea that you had but ultimately didn't do, and why?
I was going to create a custom fabric from the floral print that Ellen and Danielle from Champagne and Ink designed for me. That was a part of my invitations. I was going to create a custom fabric for like overlays, but I got down to time crunch and it just didn't work out.
What was your first dance song?
Lifetime by Justin Bieber.
One thing you learned about being a bride.
You got to chill out and like trust, just trust that everything's going to work out and that you've made the right decisions, and just lean in. It goes by really fast.
3 things absolutely worth the money.
Everything. I mean, I'm not a saver, so let's just be honest about that. I don't spare expense on like quality of things. Okay, 3 things worth the money. Dana, the food, and all my flowers and my design, like all my design stuff. Everything. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Well, those are rapid fire questions, but we'll open it up to our attendees. If you have any other questions for Sarah or Dana, I'm very curious. This is my own personal question.
Okay.
I've only heard what happened at the first look, but Dana, I'm so curious. Like, did you cry at the first look?
No, totally. I totally didn't. It was so great. I love when, like it feels to me, that feels like, the emotion is like rising, rising, rising before when you don't see each other. And then to me, the first look is when, and for you guys, definitely when you come together and you're like, oh yeah, we're doing this together, and it felt like everything kind of shifted. You both got like 20 pounds lighter and you were just like, for the rest of the day, you floated along together, you held hands. Like, it was so nice to see you spend so much time together. I think was really you intentionally, and I guess maybe intentionally or not, you really did spend most of the day kind of connected to each other, which isn't always the case. And there's so much of, the day you just like floated through holding hands. And I love that.
Yeah, that was definitely, I needed the first look. Like, that's a tip that I could give to everyone, is like really strongly think about that decision. Like, there's so many reasons why we recommend a first look to our couples. Like, I'm, from Dana's perspective, timeline wise, from our perspective, timeline wise, and like, but for the emotional aspect of it, I can now really, really speak to why that was such an important piece for me. Another fun fact, like, we were supposed to sleep apart the night before. We did not do that. Like, we were too like emotionally charged. We had to. So, I mean, I hope we're not cursed, but so like that first look moment for me, it was like, it just felt really unnatural to like spend time apart for us. So like, I just needed that moment to be like, okay, we're together now. I feel like we're good. Like, I'm like by myself over here, just like freaking out. And once we had that, I was able to really relax. Like, I was not nervous for the ceremony at all. I was not nervous for any other aspects of it. But yeah, I definitely needed that, like you said, that like emotional release. And I cried a lot, but that I was fine.
Is there anything that you would kind of take away from your experiences being a bride that you would kind of carry with you and in like your service to other clients?
Yeah, I think just like, I really do think like the biggest thing for me is like that level of emotional support. Like, I definitely strive to be that really like calming presence for my couples on their wedding day. Like, I want to make sure that I'm not coming in to their hair and makeup time to check in on them and like talking to them about things that don't matter. Like, I just want to be there as like a friend and calm. And when they see me, I want to make sure that like it eases any of the anxieties that they have, doesn't add to it. So just like continuing to be mindful of that. I like to think I do a good job at that already, but I think that just going into it, knowing that like they may be who I was during my hair and makeup, which was just like frantically ice rolling for like way too long. They may be that person. So I want to just be like sensitive to that and just like make sure that throughout the day I'm checking in on them like emotionally.
That's always helpful. I will say our brides do appreciate when we do like a wellness check
Yes.
on the day of just making sure that everyone's surviving.
Yeah.
I texted Sarah in the morning of her wedding and was like so excited, and she was like, thanks. And I'm like, okay, she's not okay. Like, automatically knew, okay, she's not well. I'm just gonna wait till the day goes by. And even I was like nervous energy, like driving to the venue. I'm like, I really hope Sarah's okay. I hope Sarah's okay. I know she's probably freaking out. And then once I finally saw her, and she was just so happy. You were just so happy that day.
For that.
We have a question. As a big foodie, what was your favorite food item from the whole weekend?
Oh my gosh, the whole weekend. Well, we had the catered affair do our food for the whole weekend. They did a beautiful family style meal for our rehearsal dinner the night before, which was just for like 18 people, which was really amazing. From that, we had a super delicious cauliflower gratin, which maybe isn't appealing to most people, but like for me, that was really, really good. And the wedding day, I ate both of my entrees, which you can do that if you need you need to try both of your meals. So I like really loved our halibut dish from the wedding. I thought that was really
So
good.
It was very good.
Also the lamb lollipops.
The lamb lollipops, I will test, were hit for
Yes.
everyone. It was very hard to get one if you were not near catering where they came out. But they were absolutely delicious. So shout out to TCA. We have another question. This is more of a wedding planning question, Sarah. Someone asked that they see many different percentages for industry standards when it comes to tipping vendors. Some content they've seen across states is that it's not standard to tip certain vendors. Can you elaborate on tipping and what you've seen in the New England wedding scene?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, we have a little like cheat sheet that we give our couples around tipping and just kind of like standard practices. We definitely, and Dana, you can definitely weigh in on this also, but we always say that, gratuity is at your discretion. So we're not like telling our couples how much they should or should not tip. I mean, it's always up to them what they feel inclined to do. For things like transportation and hair and makeup services, those for us are always a given. And those we say like a standard 20% service for that. For most other vendors, we usually do more of like a flat rate range. So we kind of have, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but we kind of have like a range that we'll offer, which varies anywhere from like, $50 a person to for some of your larger teams or your more like crucial teams, like couple $100 per shooter for video and photo, but of course, like we experience all over the map, like some people will do more, some people will do less, and it's not necessarily expected by everyone, but it's welcome.
Okay, I think we have one more question in here too. How did you manage the different opinions and wants from family members versus what you and Andy wanted?
This is going to make me sound so awful, but like everyone in both of our families, we are both the very dominant personalities in our families. Like our parents are both very much like, they are so strong with, like, they know what they want, like they kind of are driving the ship. Bless their hearts, they wouldn't like argue with us about really anything. So like there really was nothing. And I think a lot of that also came from the fact that like, I do this for a living. So nobody was gonna really interject and be like, you should do it this way, when like I do it every weekend kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate to say that, it makes me sound awful and bossy, but that is our family dynamic. So no one really asked for anything specifically. My mom wanted
to know what you want.
My mom was like, make sure there's a lemon meringue dessert. And that was her biggest requirement.
Another question, did you opt for a wedding film?
Yes, I did opt for a wedding film. I think it's one of the biggest things that our couples regret if they don't do it. Some people are really, really strong in their opinion that they're okay without it. And totally, that's great. For me, I just felt like that it was something that I could have seen myself regretting if I didn't do it. We worked with Mist and Moss Films, Chad, who I've had the pleasure of working with professionally as well. And for me, like, I wanted it also to be really, I didn't want to feel like I was in a movie trailer or anything. Like I didn't want to take myself too seriously on that. So I really wanted something to just kind of capture the day as it was, much like Dana's photography style. Like I just wanted to live and have it be captured and just be as it was. So yeah, we can't wait to see our whole film.
Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up. Dana, if you can tell us a little bit of kind of what next season looks like for you, and if anyone was interested in booking you, where they would go and do that.
Yeah, we're really excited about next season. We're finally kind of coming back into just a regular season after all this, knock on all the wood, after all the COVID reschedules and all of that. So we're really looking forward to the balance of a kind of a fresh new season, between Megan and I, we have a few openings left. We are booking up pretty quickly. It's been very, very busy, gratefully. And so we are really looking forward to kind of filling those few spots and with some really wonderful couples. But yeah, if you're looking to get in touch with us, you can either go, it's always best to go through our website, Instagram, all those things. Like, we want to make sure that we don't miss you. It doesn't go into some like hidden box. So always through our website, which we are also really looking forward to in this off season, giving a final refresh too. So after all this time, we'll finally maybe get Sarah up there and some couples that have been married in the last like 5 years. So we're really looking forward to all that too. But yeah, it'll be a good year.
I know.
That's very exciting. I know. I feel like everyone's ready to book all their vendors and just do it in 2023. But here's where we'll wrap up, and thank you everyone for joining us. For those of you who couldn't join us live, this video will be on YouTube later. For any potential clients who would like to chat with any of us, you can always book a free consultation on our wedding website at mavinhouse.com. Sarah, you can follow her on Instagram at Sarah_Mavinhouse. I'm Jeankarla_Mavinhouse. And Dana, you can follow her on her and look at her work at Henry and Mac on Instagram. But thank you guys.
Thank you, Dana. This is so nice to relive talking about the day.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been really great. I really appreciate. I feel like I'm on one of those like after the rose celebrations.
Yeah.
But we actually ended up like happy. So kudos to us.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, bye guys. We'll enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.